Welcome everyone to another CTC software webinar. My name is Chris Bircher, Director of Technical Services here at CTC, and today we are going to talk about a little tool called Fire Rating from the BIM project suite. Before we begin, I'm going to encourage all of you to ask questions throughout the webinar using the questions panel. I will do my best to answer those questions as I see them come in, and if I don't get to your question during the presentation, I will be sure to answer them all at the very end once I have concluded. This is also being recorded and will be made available on our YouTube channel shortly after the presentation has concluded. With that said, we'll just get going. So, as many of you may know, assuming you've done this process before, creating a set of code sheets or life safety drawings, or anything that involves showing the fire rating in your drawings, it can be a time-consuming process, and it can be, rather frustrating at times, depending on what method you guys used to put them together. So, for example, if you use a bunch of lines, dashed lines with varying colors and whatnot, to represent the different ratings within a wall, for example, there's a lot of manual setup that takes place there. So in today's webinar, we're going to discuss a tool, Fire Rating, that will take advantage of some of the pre-work that has been done and sort of automate a lot of the process for you in your drawings and do a lot of the repetitive line creation and tagging so that you don't have to actually hold hands, actually do it yourself. So, a couple of things we're going to cover today. Just take a quick tour of the app itself, show you where everything is, and how to set it up and execute the graphical creations, and some of the prereqs that are involved to get the look and feel that you want. And then, for those of you that don't already have your hands on this, where you can get a hold of it and some additional resources. But because I don't like to give PowerPoint presentations, I'm going to go ahead and jump into the demo itself. So here we go. I'm in my floor plan. And in this case, I'm in my code plans or life safety drawings, rating, fire rating plans, whatever you want to call them. And I've got all my walls drawn in. We kind of got it all figured out now. So a couple of things that you need to do to set this up so that the tool actually knows what it needs to do and what to use you need to have the rating specified in the wall for it to actually know what or what pattern to associate it with. And then you also need to make sure you have your tag or the tag loaded in that you want to use. And last but not least, you got to have your line styles made. So our fire rating utility specifically uses detail lines to map out the wall types and their ratings that you've specified or that someone has specified. So step one, get the wall type to have the right fire rating, so here I've got one that's set to 2 hours. You might have 1 hour, 0 hour, 3 hour, 4 hour. I mean, the list goes on, right? You can have this set up to however you need to. If you've got 90-minute ratings, you can spec, it's just however you set it up. Whatever you set will be available as long as you use this parameter. And in a little bit, I'll show you how you can source a different parameter if you need to. The one that Revit gives us makes it really simple. You're not locked to that though. So you go through, set all those up, as many as you need. And then you can either have your own tag loaded in, or we provide one that comes with the app itself that you can use and make your own. So if I just come down here, I've already got mine loaded in, good to go. And last but not least, the line style. So if I come here, go to my line styles, I've got a couple made already. I've got a 1 hour, 2 hour, and 3 hour built dash dot, and dash dot, dot, dot. Obviously, any variation of that paints the picture and makes it easy to understand, or at least matches what your symbols and abbreviations page shows, you got it. So I'm good with that. If you need to make a new line style, go right ahead. If you want to change the color, go right ahead. These can be built to match what your company standard is, no problem. So I've got the 3 criteria pieces here done first. And now we're just going to jump right into it. So the fire rating utility is part of the BIM project suite, which is the green collection of tools here found on the CTC productivity tab, previously found on the CTC software tab. So it's this guy right here. So what we're going to see here when we open this up is a very straightforward interface. The first tab here will list all of the different wall types that are found in the model, how many of each type are available, and if they have a rating associated with them. And if they do, great. If they don't, you can set that up and start to build that in from here if you need to, or go back to the model and start laying them out as needed. Because here you can't always tell, necessarily where this wall is, what it's supposed to be doing, and what rating it's technically supposed to have based on the project and the conditions. You might just know by looking at the way you've labeled the wall that it should have a certain rating, and if that's the case, you can enter it in. The second tab here is the mappings tab. It's where we specify based off what ratings are found, if we're going to use a detail component family to annotate this, the line style that's going to be drawn on top of it to be another graphical representation of the rating, and if you want a wall tag associated with it. So you can build all this in here. And then the last tab is the graphics tab. What plan views are we associating this with, or what views are we going to associate this with? And how do you want to lay out the spacing? Where should the tags go? What's the orientation? Do I want to tag linked models if there's a rating found in a linked model? And then our generation options. So that's the overview there. We do have an options window here that conveniently popped in over on the wrong screen, where you can go ahead and customize a little bit further as to what's happening. So for example, I mentioned that you could change what parameters being used for the fire rating. You can. The list is here. If you want to add your own custom parameter, you can do so, and it's going to create a shared parameter file so that you can modify a tag and get that parameter to be usable by more than just the elements in the project. So you can build your own out and kind of consolidate it and migrate it into your current system, or just use the default one that's already there. And a bunch of other things to update as far as, how do you want to update the ratings? Do you want to just update the wall type that's in place, or do you want to duplicate the wall type and put the rating at the end of the name? We built some of that function in for you. My wall types are built out, so it is just what it is. If I want it to be a 2-hour, it's going to be a 2-hour. That's how I've set mine up. Not always the way it goes. You can have wall types built up by hour if you want, or by rating, I should say. The naming format, what should happen if something's missing or something is off. We can either stop and throw an error at you, or ignore it and continue on. And then how do you want to deal with objects that have been removed or updated? And as long as nothing's being deleted, the app can do what the app needs to do as far as moving the lines around or removing the line and putting a new one in, whatever the case may be. So depending on what you want to do here, you have some options associated for how that cleanup needs to happen. So I'm just going to kind of accept this for what it is and move on. So now I've got a few walls laid out in here, but not everything has, obviously I've got a lot that's missing some ratings here. So I'm going to take this one, I think this is my main exterior wall, and I'm going to hit the set wall ratings button, and I can specify what my rating needs to be. I'll make it a 2-hour rating, and it'll either do it for whatever I have selected at this moment in time. So I could have multiple wall types selected if I needed to, and either just update it or duplicate those and append the rating at the end of the type name. So in this case, I'm just going to update them. Like I said, I just like it done one way. So it just went through and assigned the 2-hour rating to this wall type, which in turn updated 67 walls that I had drawn throughout the project. And I can effectively do that for all of them if I want. You know, maybe I'll do one more. That keeps coming up over there. I don't like it. And we'll do that. And we'll call it good at this point. I'm not going to make you guys sit here and watch me fill everything out. So we've got that mapped. I'm going to go to my mappings tab now. So I've only got 2 ratings in use, so it's only going to show the 2, which makes setting it up a little bit easier. And I like to have I made these line style 1 hour and 2 hours. I've got my wall tag here, and you just go ahead and specify it as you need it. You know, you might have a different symbol for your wall tag depending on the type of project or the customer whom you're working for, or the consultant, or maybe you're working for you're subcontracting. You got all these different options to choose from. We do supply one, so you can hit load default wall tag if you don't have one already created. You know, maybe you're just getting started and you need something loaded up quick. You can use ours. It comes with the app. And at this point, I can move on and keep going. I can also save these mappings to a fire rating settings file, so that if I need to use this on another project, I don't have to go back and reinvent the wheel. And I'm effectively just saving this part right here. So if you do have all of the ratings that you would ever use drawn in here, you can map everything out, put all the line styles on, put the appropriate tags in. Maybe there's a detail component family that goes along with it. You can map all out and save that to a text file, basically, so that anyone and everyone in your organization can use this to help speed up the process of generating your code plans. So it's just a quick little save. It's its own little custom fire rating map file. And we'll go ahead and just put it in my demo folder here. Load it in whenever you want. The last step here is on the graphics tab. Which floor plans do I want to associate these changes to? I want my code plans. So you can either pick the code plan that you've got open or the one that you want to work on at the moment. If you've got multiple code plans that need to be modified, you can do them all. You can grab 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 2, 3, and 4. I can grab these and run with it. If you've got, as I mentioned earlier, if a linked model has rated walls in it, if you got a really large project and multiple architectural models, we can get all those with their own rated lines drawn on them as well. Okay, this last step here is how frequently do you want the tags to be placed on the elements themselves? We can choose how frequently and what the spacing between these tags are going to be. I've got it set up for every 10 feet with a minimum end-to-end spacing of 2 feet. So there's going to be some separation in between them, and it's basically going to try to minimize the number of tags in the project. We don't want things coming too close to each other. And you can always tweak this and run an update after the fact if you need to. So I'm going to leave my settings the way they are and hit generate. And it's going to go through, scan the entire file, see what's open, or see what based off what I've checked, and generate all my line work and my tags for me. So in this case, it tells me right at the bottom, or it did until it went away, but it was over 300 lines and tags. And you can see they are all here on my floor plan. Zooming in, and I can zoom in and take a look around at this without having to close fire rating, which is great. It saves me a little bit of hassle. And see what I've got, see how it looked. I'm pretty happy with most of this. There's a couple of overlaps here, and that's just because of how these lines were drawn. I probably have an extra, yep, they drew around the column there. But it worked out pretty well. So, and if you didn't like what you did, or maybe it was too early and you realized it was a colossal mix-up or something, you can quickly hit remove graphics, and it's going to take them all away. You can turn around, put them back on again. Does not take very long. Yeah, 206 lines and 300 tags. That's what it was. So there's a lot you can do here in a very short amount of time. So think if you had to draw all those lines on every single wall on all 5 floor plans, how long would that take? Or at least on every rated wall. It would take forever. So it's a huge time saver, and then turn around going to generating the tags associated with that. So really quickly, you can generate, I must have had it clicked outside, but you can generate the graphics in a matter of seconds. And you get everything you need. And then I can switch to my other plans. And if I've got walls there that have ratings defined, they're going to show up here as well. And if I have other walls that need to have a rating defined, because they weren't already, you can go ahead and add that at any time. Hit OK. And now you hit generate graphics again. It's going to see that we've already got lines on it, and then it's going to update everything else. Well, it should have updated everything else. And of course, well, I'm not going to sit here and pretend to know what I did wrong. Yeah, here it is. It didn't take it. So we'll do it again. I must have not hit OK. And now we'll generate that again one more time. And I'll get my graphics accordingly. Or not. Maybe I'm supposed to hit update. Well, I don't know what's going on, why I'm breaking this today. At any rate, it was working a second ago, I promise. But you get the idea. So I will post the fix in the webinar up there so you guys can see what I did wrong. But I want to open up to some questions because I know there's a couple people out there that have been asking some questions. So first, I'll say thank you. I appreciate you guys. Enjoy the rest of your hour. Thank you all again for showing up today. I appreciate you guys, and look forward to seeing you next week. And again, in the posted video that I get up there later, I'll make sure to point out what I did wrong, so you guys can at least pick up on that. Take care, everybody.